Greetings, Commanders, and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. Since I've been kind of in the tutorial spirit lately, I decided to go ahead and continue on with that and do a quick little mining, beginner's guide to mining kind of thing. I'm going to be using my Type 8, but the things I'm going to be talking about will work in most of the ships that you're going to have access to early in the game if you haven't figured out mining already. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick look at the loadout for this ship, just so you can see what we're going to be using and how we're going to be using it. So the first weapon, or the basic thing that you're going to have is going to be just your regular mining lasers. You want to try to look at the placement on your ship, because for some of these things, if they're coming at a weird angle, it's going to be kind of hard to line them up, especially for things like your abrasion blasters, your subsurface displacement missiles, and your seismic charge launchers. So I would recommend, if you can, trying to get especially your seismic charge launchers and your displacement missiles somewhere on the center line of your ship. That'll make it much easier to drop those in where they need to go. You'll see what I'm talking about when we get out into the asteroid belt and start trying to mine some things and all of that. Your mining lasers, that's just a continuous beam, so you can kind of place those wherever is convenient for you based off of the placement that you have once you're done with all of this. The abrasion blasters, there's no ammo for this, so you don't really have to worry about that too much, but you really want to be careful about your placement for your subsurface displacement missiles and your seismic charge launchers, because you have a limited stock of ammunition for that, and you want to make sure that you make each round count. Okay, so the lasers are going to be just for basically just breaking stuff off of the surface of an asteroid. And you also have these abrasion blasters where you're going to have these like mounds of material that you want to grab. The abrasion blaster will basically knock that chunk off the surface and make it so that you can pick those up. The subsurface displacement missile is basically a drill. It's a missile that you fire at a certain part of the asteroid. It drills down into the thing. It drills down into that little crack that's in there. It has a little explosion that blasts some material out of it, and that's what that's for. And then the seismic charge launcher is for certain types of asteroids that have a very dense core of valuable material in the middle. You put a bunch of these charges inside the asteroid, and then you set them all off at the same time, and it blasts the asteroid apart and allows you to get to the goodies inside. So that's all of those weapons. The only utility you really need, especially and this is only if you're going to be doing core mining, is the pulse wave analyzer. It basically puts a little pulse out into the asteroid belt and lets you see valuable asteroids that have a good potential for stuff inside of them. As far as your regular equipment goes, you don't need any of this equipment. I'm not even going to go over it, because for mining purposes, none of this matters. Put whatever modules and power and engineering, whatever else that you want. For mining, you don't need any of it. Now, your core internals are going to matter, because if you want to be able to be efficient with your time, you're going to want to have some kind of limpet controllers. You're going to want a lot of cargo space. You're going to need a prospector limpet, which is going to basically scan individual asteroids and give you information on what's inside of them. You're going to need a refinery to take the materials that you collect and actually convert those into full-sized units of whatever it is that you're trying to find. And you also need a detailed surface scanner, because you're going to fire probes at the rings or whatever it is that you're at rings of planets, mostly. That's where you're going to be doing most of your mining, to identify hot spots, which we'll talk about once we get there. If you can get the universal multi-limpet controller, I highly recommend flying a ship that will allow you to do that, because as you can see, if you look at the max active limpets, we get 8 limpets with this universal limpet multi-controller, whereas with the regular collector limpet, the 5A only gives us 3, and even the 7A, I believe, only gives us like 5 or something like that. Let's take a look at that real quick. The biggest, the 7A gives us 4 limpets, right? Whereas our universal multi-limpet controller will give us 8 limpets. So we're getting double the limpets for one spot. And then I went ahead and, what are you doing? Sorry, I went ahead and added another limpet just to make the process that much faster. So I am able to have a total of 8, 9, 10, 11 collector limpets running around picking things up. Okay, the prospector limpet, you need to have a prospector limpet so that you can scan each of the asteroids that you're going to mine and see what's inside. You won't be able to do any core mining or fissure mining or anything like that. Core mining or subsurface displacement mining until you scan the asteroid. So you need to have this prospector limpet available. Refinery is important because you won't be able to move the materials you gather into your inventory until you convert them into full units of whatever material it is that you're mining. So you need to make sure you have a refinery on here, and then we already talked about the surface scanner. So that's it as far as equipment goes. We'll talk about fire groups here really quick, because those are also kind of important if you're going to be efficient with your time. For my first group, I usually have the discovery scanner and my surface scanner as part of my group. I have my primary trigger button as my discovery scanner, and then my secondary trigger as my surface scanner. We'll go and do a practice run of scanning an asteroid belt, just so you can kind of see that, but that's how you have that set up. And then generally, you want to set each of the types of mining that you're going to do on its own fire group. Sorry, hold on a second. Let me make sure I'm paying attention here. Oh, that's right, pulse wave and prospector. Because the best and most efficient way of making sure that you keep maximum numbers of limpets out as they continue to die and expire, and you know, things just happen to them. If you have your all of your collector limpets attached to the same keybind as whatever active mining implement that you're using, then as you hold that button down, when a limpet dies, it'll just create another one. So, you know, you're sitting here, you're firing your lasers, and as you're firing your lasers, it's continuing to try to deploy limpets to keep them maxed out. And then when one dies, one automatically replaces it because you're in the middle of firing. So I have mine set up so that while I'm firing my lasers, I have the collector limpet going off. Anytime I fire my abrasion blaster, it tries to deploy a collector limpet. Same thing, as you're holding down the displacement missile, it'll continue trying to deploy collector limpets. Same thing with the seismic charge. So we always want to have collector limpets trying to be deployed as we're mining, so that way we're always having the maximum number of limpets out at any given moment. And then one of the confusing things that a lot of people don't, or at least I didn't know, and I had to go do a fair bit of research to find the answer to the question, to use your multi-limpet controller and put that in a whatever mode you want it to be, that's all the way down here at the bottom. And you can each of the multi-limpet controller allows you to do a bunch of different things. For our purposes, the only thing we want to use it for is for collector limpets. And the reason why is that if you try to use this, if you try to also use this as your prospecting limpet or something else, it ends up having a problem when you want to switch back to doing just collectors, because the prospector limpet is attached to your universal limpet controller, and that takes up a slot, and you end up not being able to add another collector limpet when you want to. So it's better to just have a separate prospector limpet controller, and then use your universal limpet controller as only a collector limpet controller. So that you get the maximum number, you get that full eight limpets out of it. I was running into an issue where I would have to actually shut the module down, lose all of my limpets, restart it to get all 8 of my limpets. There's some kind of weird way that it works, that trying to use this as an actual multi-control thing ends up causing issues. So just do yourself a favor, have a separate prospector limpet that you only have for that, and then use your universal limpet controller to just take advantage of the fact that you can deploy 8 of them. Okay, so that's fire groups. Now when it comes to actually going to do some mining, the thing you're going to be wanting to look for is, I believe, it's either signal sources or points of interest. I know Jameson Memorial has something, but basically if you just scroll down, you're going to be looking for HAZRES zones, hazardous resource zones. We might have to actually go scan a nav beacon to find that. So give me just a second. I'll go find the nav beacon. I'll scan it, and then we'll see if that fixes the problem. Never mind, I forget. You have to be in Super Cruise to be able to see those. So yeah, we have several zones available. We're going to go to one of the... it doesn't matter which one you go to, because what ends up happening is when you drop into the zone, you're going to get scanned by some pirates, and as long as you don't have anything valuable, they leave you alone after that. So let's go ahead and head over to where this HAZRES site is. So for mining, you can either do a HAZRES, or you can try to find a planetary body that has some kind of a decent ring system on it. A lot of times you're going to be looking for pristine ring systems. We'll talk about that maybe later, or you just go to inara.cz, go to the bodies section, and then search for pristine rings of whatever type you're looking for based off of whatever material it is that you're looking for. But we're going to get over here to this has-res site. Hopefully it will have, ideally it's going to have some kind of a ring system around it. That's almost all of the has-res sites are around planetary bodies that have a ring. I ended up getting distracted by the fact that I was talking, so we're going to probably overshoot this. It's always a good idea to kind of approach the ring system from the bottom anyway, so that you can figure out where it is that you're going to go. We're going to switch over to analysis mode. So I've already scanned this ring system, but we'll go ahead and practice it anyway because it's good to just kind of know. So we are looking for... See where this... so we're looking at the surface scanner over there on the left side of the screen. We're waiting for it to say too fast, which means that we're in range, but we're moving too fast. And what we'll do is we'll slow down to idle throttle, let ourselves slow down. Enter into the thing here, and then you're just going to fire off a probe once the probe on the right side reads is blue. So you fire off a probe, that will hit the ring, and once it does, you'll see a big whoosh go around the outside of it. Eventually. It's supposed to. Even if you've scanned it before, it should still do a circle. It might not. I'm not sure why it's causing a problem. All right. Anyways, what'll end up happening is, especially if you haven't gotten a ring before, you'll see a big blue circle go this way, and they'll both meet around in the middle, and then you'll see all of these little hot spots show up here. And these are important because it'll allow you to see what kind of materials are available in this ring system, and then you can go to that area and have a much higher chance of finding whatever it is that you're looking for. Again, my control setup got jacked up, so give me just a second to head back down here and type in the get the key for getting out of this. I usually use the tab key to get out of this. Okay, and then once you're close enough, you'll see all of these different hot spots that you're looking for. Okay, so what we'll do is, I know that low temperature diamonds tend to have cores available, so we're going to go ahead and hop into that. And then we'll look around for where that is. That's this one right here. And then you just go to that part of the ring. Now, a good way to make sure that you don't accidentally remine things is to actually drop yourself out several kilometers away from where the... several kilometers away from the actual center, and then use the actual point there as your reference, and just continue to move towards it. So it's always a good idea to kind of drop yourself out a fair bit away from the thing, but you don't want to go too far, because when you get a certain distance away, you start losing density of material. So you want to be between 2 to 10 megameters or whatever. I mean, preferably you want to be, a few hundred kilometers away. All right, and then once we're in here, we're going to switch over to our pulse wave scanner. And this is going to help us find asteroids that are worth going after. So we fire off the pulse wave scanner, and then ideally we'll see some glowing asteroids like that. Now, the glowing asteroids are going to tell us that we have a higher chance of finding materials inside of it. For the purposes of laser mining, that's not necessarily going to help us very much, because that's not really what we're looking for. But let's go ahead and just focus on doing some laser mining, just so we can get that out of the way. Laser mining, you want to open up your cargo scoop, and then once you're close enough to an asteroid to actually start firing it, we need to switch over to regular mode. Not sure. I guess we are supposed to be in analysis mode. And then you just fire off your stuff. Oh, I forgot to get limpets. Let's go do that. Alright, there's a reason why when you run around and you see things, you see the signs that say don't forget your limpets. This is a standard thing that every miner does. You run out there, you forget, oh yeah, I need limpets. You go to advanced maintenance. You go over to the left side of the screen. I'm going to repair all my stuff. You go over to the left side of the screen down here to where it says restock limpets. You head over here and you give yourself a healthy amount of limpets. Now, depending on what kind of mining you're doing, you might not want to fill up completely because certain kinds of mining will give you whole units and you won't use up your limpets fast enough to not fill up your cargo space. So depending on, if you're just doing regular laser mining, it's generally fine to just fill it up all the way. If you're going to be doing any kind of core mining or anything like that, it might be a good idea to leave yourself a little bit of a buffer space there. So I'm just going to bring 150 with me. That's good enough for government work. Let's go ahead and launch and get out of here, and then I'll see you guys back in the asteroid belt again. All right, we are back in the area again. We're going to switch back over to our pulse wave analyzer. We're going to see if we can find ourselves a glowy rock. But keep in mind, the glowy rocks don't necessarily only help you with certain things. Sometimes the subsurface displacement missiles, you get better options with that, and definitely for core mining, if you're trying to break apart an asteroid to get to the core, you definitely want to go for that. As you're going through, you're going to want to be deploying prospector limpets. I deployed that way too early. It's going to die. Oh, maybe not. You target it, and when it hits the asteroid, you'll see some information show up on the left. So this asteroid has 13% bromolite, 5% water, 3% tritium, and then it has a relatively low material content. But we're going to go ahead and open up our cargo scoop just so we can practice with the laser mining. So you're going to want to go around just pulse, prospecting various different asteroids to find whatever it is that you're looking for. If you're looking for something that's you only get for surface mining, you don't need to bring a subsurface displacement missile. You don't need to bring the core mining rockets or whatever or the core mining drill or anything like that. All you need is the lasers, and then just start firing off your lasers. And if you have your collectors set to the same key binding as the same fire grip as your mining lasers, then you're going to deploy as you go. Now, it's important to make sure that you have your sorry, as always, anytime my system gets messed up, I have to go back and fix all of my control setups. Let's see here. Distributor, is it? I forget where. Divert power, here we go. Divert power to engines, divert power to weapons, divert power to systems, divert power, or reset this distribution. You're going to want to set your pips all the way over to weapons so that you can just leave them turned on. So you just keep firing, as long as you have your prospector limpets looked at, you can see the materials remaining over there at the top left, 80%. It's going to slowly go down. Now, the more lasers that you have and the bigger lasers that you have, the faster this process will go. So ideally, you want to be running through here with, the biggest and highest quantity of lasers that you can manage, especially if you're focusing on something that just has surface mining available on it. Not everything is going to be able to be dug out of the asteroid. Some of the materials are only going to be on the surface. You'll have to do some research to look that up, but yeah, this is the process. This ship is obviously not optimized for this because I'm trying to do a bunch of different things all at the same time. But if you have a couple more lasers on here, maybe if we had the class 2 laser on the top, this process would go much quicker. But we're limited with what we have right now. So that's a process for that. Once it's depleted, you won't be able to get any more minerals off the surface of this. So just keep that in mind. Just watch and wait for the 0 to hit. And then when you're done, you hang out and wait for your limpets to continue grabbing things, and then you're all set to go. I'm not going to wait on that. It's going to take too long. So if we look at our inventory, we can see our refinery here. It's slowly filling up with tritium and whatever other various materials it ends up picking up. And then when you go up to your inventory here, when each of the slots fills up, it'll create a full unit of whatever it is, whatever little fragments it was that you're collecting. So eventually you'll see a unit of tritium show up here once it actually fills up and does all of that. So that's how all of that works. Let's go check out that whatever that glowy asteroid was to see if that ends up being a this guy here. So let's put a prospector on this guy and see if he ends up having some of what we're looking for here. This guy should definitely have some kind of something we can work on here. Okay, so this actually has both of what we need. So you can look over here. If we look at this guy here, you can look at the icon right here. it basically has a dot on top of a semicircle in the middle. That indicates a surface deposit, which is going to be something that we blast off of the surface. We're going to use our abrasion blasters to knock this off. You hold the trigger down, and if you hit it, it'll pop off and become a little fragment out here. Your limpet will go and grab it, put it in your refinery, probably. I don't believe it gives you full units. But that's how that works. Oh, there you go. So yeah, it gave us a really big chunk of tritium, so we're much closer to actually having something end up going. So you kind of fly yourself around looking for all of those, right? This one ends up being a low temperature diamond. You can also go into your contacts and just kind of look around, and it will show you what all of the various different options are as with regard to, you know, what is still available for you to do something with. So that's abrasion blasting. That's super easy. Now, when the circle is under the hemisphere, that means that it is a subsurface deposit, and you're gonna want to go for your displacement missile. So I'm going to do one of these so you can kind of see the process, and then I'll explain it. You hold the trigger down, and if it finds it, it'll deploy the drill. And then there's a little mini game that you have to play when you do this. And then you just keep moving yourself around and firing it. So you're looking for those little blue bars, and you're trying to time it to where you release the trigger on a bar. That's how that works. The smaller the bars, the more material that you're going to get out of that extraction. So the widths are from 4 all the way down to 1, and you really want to go for the smallest size you think you can get. So we'll do a couple of these, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So you hold down the trigger. If you get it right, it'll deploy the drill. So you see there's 2. We just extracted 1. If you miss, you waste an attempt. So you see how it says there's 78% under the little holographic rocks? That tells us how much is left in this particular deposit. So every time we shoot one, we're going to expend some of that material. Sometimes you might destroy the material if you don't release on a blue. Other times you'll get material out of it, and you'll see that number go down. Well, I missed. So you generally want to be trying to release on a blue here, and I missed, but you see how the percentage still went down because, you know, every attempt you make is going to cost you. So you want to try to release on a blue, right? And then you'll get material out of it. Now you'll notice that the speed at which it moves, at which the tape moves, will change. And if you look up just above the tape where all the blue bars are, you'll see some hill-looking stuff. The higher the hill, I think the slower it moves, and then when you get down to a lower hill, it moves faster. So you just got to kind of pay attention to the fact that the rate at which that tape moves is going to be changing as you continue to hold the trigger down. So just keep an eye out for that. You want to get as many 2s and 1s as you can. If you don't see any 1s, just be content to go after the 2s. We'll hold this one since we have a little bit of extra ability, and see if we can find a 1. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So that's a 2, a 2, a 2, and then this one didn't have anything else. So all this has is basically 2s. We'll do one more after this so you can see, and hopefully we'll be able to find a 1 out of that. And you don't even have to wait. As soon as you finish, you can just go ahead and start pulling the trigger down and get started. That way you can optimize your time. So now we've hit 0%, and that is no longer available. And it's going to become untargeted, and we're not going to be able to do anything else with it. So now we'll do some liquid oxygen here. Do the same thing. So you see how there's a 1 right here? You want to try to get as many of those 1s as you can, but it's a balancing game. If you can't hit the 1s, you end up wasting material. So if you're only comfortable going after 2s, be comfortable going after 2s. You'll get more in the end than continually missing the 1s. Right? So this first one is a 4 bar, right? That one was 4 wide. We're going to get the minimum amount of material out of that because that's the easiest to get. So keep it in mind. The harder it is to release on one, the more material you're going to get out of it. And then just keep an eye on the percentages down there. Right? We're at 50% now. Now we're down to 33%. It's the little rocks with the hologram that tells you how much is left in this deposit, right? And just keep going after whatever you think you can get. And you don't have to wait. As soon as you let go, you can pull the trigger again and go after the next one. And that pretty much takes care of this asteroid. So we're going to go back to our pulse wave laser. If you're doing core mining, I'm going to search around for a minute and see if I can find one that has a core on it, and then I'll bring you back and we'll talk about core mining. I didn't realize I was in the middle of recording. I thought I pressed the pause button. Sorry about that. You're going to be looking for really super bright asteroids like this one. This might not have a core in it, but the brightness of it indicates to me that it's likely to have what you're looking for. So apologies for that big sketch section there. I could have swore I pressed the pause button, but I guess not. So ideally, this will have some low temperature diamond, a low temperature diamond core in it. Oh, it has a different core. All right. So now we're going to switch over to our seismic charges here. And so the way that this works is you're going to try to break this asteroid apart. So what we'll do is we will fire. I gotta remember how this works. Detonation sequence initiated. Okay, so there's a blue line up there, and you're basically trying to get the yellow line to meet up with the blue line and the check mark to show up. So these little V-shaped things here is what we're looking for. You can see where it says strength over there, average strength. You're going to be trying to figure out the size of fissures that you need to get the orange to go up there. So there's low, average, and high, I think. This one is another average strength, so we fire that off. We're almost there. So we just keep looking for fissures to do. This is an average strength, so we'll fire that off in there. We're getting pretty close to being able to actually fire this off. This is the low strength one, so it's only gonna add a little bit to our thing here. So now it's blue. Once it's blue, you can back off. And now we just need to be far enough away so that hopefully we don't take any damage when this goes off. And then I don't remember. Okay, so there's a detonate now option if we go to one of our. If we target one of the fissures that has one of our things, we can just go ahead and detonate it. So you could wait for the timer to go out. It has another 30 seconds, or you can just detonate it now and it'll go off in 10 seconds. So we're going to back away because I ended up really damaging myself by accident. So you're basically just continuing to add charges to these fissures until you reach the blue line up there in the top right. And then once it's done, I'm going to use my mining laser to deploy a bunch of limpets. And then, yeah, all you got to do is just hop in here and let the... You hop in here with your abrasion blasters and just blast off everything that was there. So there's one here, right? So it basically breaks the rock up into a bunch of chunks, and then you just got to go find all of the pieces. And just break them all off. And then your limpets will go in and do their best to grab these. Yeah, and you just keep doing that, rinse and repeat until you get all of the stuff that you need. So yeah, that's mining in a nutshell, as much of a nutshell as I can do. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to click the like button, subscribe to help us reach 10,000 subscribers. Join as a member for early access to videos, among other perks, where you can just leave YouTube's version of a tip with the thanks button. Also have a PayPal link in the description if you prefer to go outside of the YouTube economy, because some people like to do that. So again, thanks for watching. Be sure to come back for future episodes and tutorials, and I'll see you then.